Well, he's a well-traveled fellow, from growing up in Spokane, Washington, to spending a lot of time in the Phoenix area of Arizona, and now calling Central Iowa home. We're talking about Ryan Roath, who's the pilot of the Sunoco IMCA Stock Car number 45. Ryan's here to tell us all about his wonderful experiences in racing, from his beginnings at Manzanita Speedway to going to the Friesen Performance IMCA Modifieds and now to the Stock Cars, about his adapting to the Iowa culture and what drew him to move to the Hawkeye State. That and more coming up next. But before we get to the interview, make sure wherever you're listening or watching from, you hit the like button and subscribe so that you don't miss out on future episodes. Well, joining us on the Beyond the Flags podcast, originally from the state of Arizona, recently relocating to Iowa, Ryan Roath. Ryan, it's great to have you here. We've gone back a number of years, and it's always an enjoyable time when I get a chance to talk with you, not just about racing, but just life in general.
Absolutely, man. We just, like you said, just recently relocated out here to Camrar, Iowa, real close to Webster City area. Everybody that comes out to Boone Super Nationals, it's about 35 miles north of Boone, so kind of give you a good idea of where we're located. We moved out here just after Winter Nationals down there in Arizona.
And you're no stranger to Iowa. You guys have went to the Speedway Motors IMCA Super Nationals fueled by Casey's a number of times, and it just kind of one of those deals where a lot of these teams from the West Coast, Western United States, they just kind of fall in love with Iowa and decide to kind of uproot and settle.
Yeah, it was kind of funny you say that, because we were out here in September for Boone Super Nationals, and Grant Osvig, actually one of the IMCA officials, he's become kind of like family to us, and we actually, that's kind of why we relocated where we're at. We're just down the road from Grant. He lives in Jewell. We're just north of Jewell, so yeah, we love it here. We're looking to do a lot of racing out here this year. We came out in September for Super Nationals and found this house out here. We actually purchased a house in September out here when we were out here racing for Boone Super Nationals, and we couldn't get our house sold in Arizona, and it was one of those situations where we're like, man, I hope we don't end up losing this house in Iowa that we bought. And it ended up all working out, man. So we ended up moving out here just at the end of January, and just in time for a real nice snow blizzard out here.
Well, I know when I was through Webster City about a month ago, I was in your neck of the woods, and I got to feel firsthand one of those stereotype Midwest Iowa blizzards where not a lot really happens because everyone's just kind of stuck.
Yeah, you're kind of just bunkered down. As a matter of fact, we were, I think you and I were going to go to dinner that night, and I said, we're not moving, bud. So,
yeah.
Yeah, we weren't traveling that day for sure.
I was going to say, like, the snow wasn't bugging me so much as the wind. The wind was just crazy. I think it was what got us up to about 65 miles an hour. It was wild and crazy times, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's something that I knew it was windy here in the Midwest, but Iowa wind is something that will catch you off guard in a heartbeat, man. That's something I've learned at living here the last couple of months is the wind never stops. So that's the downfall to Iowa. But other than that, we absolutely love it here. The area that we moved to, we got a great community around us. My daughter is doing really, really well in school here. You know, speaking of like our family situation, we had one of our neighbors reached out to us and is giving my daughter a calf this year for the fair here, so she gets to do the whole 4-H deal, and you know, something that we wouldn't have got to experience in Arizona for sure.
Well, I think going back to the wind deal, I think us people from the West, we're used to all those gorgeous mountains kind of break things up, and that's certainly not the case in the areas where it's a little bit more flatter.
Oh, 100%. Now, something that you talking about the Iowa weather. I mean, we can have all four seasons in one day here. I've found that out too.
That's super cool that the community, it's excellent for you and your family, and there's been no challenges there. Definitely in God's country, especially in Iowa. And the thing that always boggles me, when I come back from the Midwest, and I don't know if this was same deal with you, is you come back and nothing against the local racing in, Oregon, Arizona, or whatever, but you have so many options to race on so many days at so many different racetracks. And if one racetrack rains out, it's not a big deal to go to a different place an hour or two further down the road. Just something cool and unique. And that's really awesome.
No, and you touched a good point there. And before we even moved out here, and I knew kind of where our house was, and I sat down on the computer one day and I was like, Arizona, we were pretty limited. I mean, we had Casa Grande, Central Arizona Raceway. That was our home track. However, that was 85 miles away from my house. We had Mojave Valley Raceway. That was 200 miles away from my house. You had, in the summertime, we had the track that opened up in Sholo. Again, that's 200 miles from my house. So we were pretty limited in Arizona with where we could race, unless you really wanted to travel. Going back to where I was telling you, I sat down in front of the computer. We have multiple choices back here in Iowa. And just within a 200-mile radius of my house, we have 28 racetracks. So, like you just said, if it's raining here, we could go there, So we definitely have many options back here. I'm looking to explore Iowa this year with racing. My wife and I, we've already kind of set out a few big dates of different races we want to hit back here. And that's probably honestly how I'm going to learn Iowa this year, is going racing to these different towns.
Just doing it, right?
You live life once, man. So live it at its fullest. That's something my mom always told me.
There you go. Well, you're originally from Peoria, Arizona, and when I first met you, you raced in the Friesen Performance IMCA Modifieds, a multi-time champion, unfortunately the defunct Canyon Speedway Park, but you had success also at Prescott Valley Raceway and Arizona Speedway in Queen Creek. Recently, though, last year, having some success in the Sunoco IMCA Stock Cars, won the Arizona Tour that Brad Whitfield put together. And it seems like the Stock Cars has just been a great experience for you and a great transition.
Yeah, I started back in, I want to say 2002, 2003 in what we called a pure stock or a factory stock. Started at Manzanita Speedway back in the day. So stock car racing was my root, that's where it started. That's where it was a big deal back then. IMCA Modifieds, I enjoyed the Modifieds. Don't get me wrong. I had a lot of success in the Modified ranks, but I had the opportunity to trade my Modified for a stock car. And I was like, the stock car class looks like a lot of fun. It's growing. So I traded off the Modified and got a stock car. I actually got an MRW chassis, one of Rob Mosley's cars. And between Rob Mosley and Josh Kane, there's two big hitters right now in the stock car ranks, and they've helped me out a lot with getting me pointed in the right direction. And we were fast right out of the box. I think our first race was Winter Nationals down in at Kokopaw that last year, and we podiumed right out of the box with that stock car, and we had a lot of success. I think we ended up winning 4 or 5 features. 3 or 4 of those paid $1,000 to win. So, I mean, we won some big money races. And as you mentioned, we won the IMCA Tour for the Arizona Stock Car Tour that Brad Whitfield put on. And I look to kind of carry over some of that success this year with the IMCA Stock Car. We ran the first 4 races at the Winter Nationals. We had a top 5, 6 car every night, and we ended up podium one time down there and had a little bit of rough luck with flat tire and overheating. So, but we were right there in all the races in the Winter Nationals this year. But other than that, that's kind of where we're at with the IMCA Stock Car. Look to have a good 2025 season.
Well, and how was that transition like? Was it very difficult from the modified to the stock car? Was there a bit of a learning curve, or did you kind of take it fish to water, duck to water?
Well, in the way I've been asked this quite a bit, Ben, the modified is like having a bass boat. You're just on the water and you're just flying across the water. You got the speed, you're just flying across the water. Mm-hmm. However, you go to the stock car, it's like a pontoon boat. You're still having fun on the water. You're not going quite as fast, but you're still having a blast. And that's exactly how I feel in the stock car. The first couple races in the stock car, we're hanging it out on the top around Kokopah Speedway. And, you know, you get out of the modified and you get in the stock car, and it definitely does feel slower. I'm not going to beat around the bush. But I was like, oh, we can go wide open in this stock car. And then all of a sudden I spin out all by myself. And I was like, well, we don't have a right rear tire to lean on like we got that in that modified. So it took me, 2-3 races to transition and get used to that. But once you realize you don't have a right rear to lean on like the modified, and you got to drive these a little bit straighter, it started working out for me.
Well, you talked about getting your start in the early 2000s at Manzanita. What kind of was the inspiration for you to get involved racing as far as becoming a driver?
Well, it actually started at a very young age. I grew up racing 3-wheelers. My dad raced professionally, and he would come home Friday night. My mom would have the camper packed, and we would be off to a 3-wheeler race somewhere. My dad would race, and I would race 3-wheelers with him. I started racing at 3 years old on a little, what they called a tri-zinger back in the day. And then my parents divorced at a very young age, so that only happened for a few years. And then we did the motocross ranks for a couple of years, but my mom went to work for Culligan Soft Water back in the day, and one of her colleagues at work, her son raced stock cars, and it was at State Line Speedway up in State Line, Idaho.
Okay.
And I grew up in Spokane, Washington, and we would go out and watch him race his stock car. Well, he would dominate, and he to this day I still talk to him on the phone. His name's Randy Laswell. And he's always been kind of like my childhood hero growing up. And that was kind of I always told myself, when I get my own house and I get my own garage, I'm going to build a stock car. And that happened. And that's how it all kind of started with the stock car racing. Just that grew up kind of going and watching every Saturday night, and it just stuck to me.
So how'd you wind up in Arizona?
So 1995, my mom came home, and she asked my sister and I if we want to go to Lake Tahoe or Phoenix, Arizona. And she had a job offer at both places, and my sister and I, we chose Arizona because at that time my grandparents were snowbirds, so they would go to Arizona. So that's how we ended up in Arizona. So I was actually in Arizona from 1995 all the way to 2025. So it's been a majority of my life in Arizona.
Are you looking to find that adrenaline rush, but you can't because you're not at the racetrack? Well, check out the IMCA TV Replay subscription library to have access to thousands of hours of racing for just $24.99 a month. Relive all the moments of the Speedway Motors IMCA Super Nationals fueled by Casey's at Boone Speedway, the Harris Clash at Deer Creek Speedway in Spring Valley, Minnesota, the IMCA TV Winter Nationals at Cocopah Speedway in Somerton, Arizona, Florida's Clash on the Coast, and dozens of Speedway Motors IMCA weekly racing program racetracks from across the nation, as well as the IMCA TV Dirtcast podcast. Plus, 25% of that $24.99 monthly fee goes towards the Drivers Point Fund and is a great way to help out your local racers. In 2023, over $97,000 was paid out to IMCA drivers directly at over 50 racetracks across the country. Please note that live broadcasts are not part of a replay subscription. That's IMCA TV. IMCA TV, where America comes to watch racing. So all the years that I've seen you race, you've been the number 45. Is there a special meaning or a story behind selecting that number?
So it's funny you say that because I wanted number 50. 50 was my high school football number. And then I played college football. Number 50 was my college football number. But when I started racing at Manzanita back in 2002, 2003, number 50 was taken by a guy named Jerry Lee, so I couldn't get number 50. And then the guy I grew up idolizing, he was number 14, so I couldn't get number 14 because somebody had that number. But I ended up, my best friend, he was number 48, and his dad was 46. So I tried to be in their neighborhood and got number 45. Really no special meaning behind number 45. I started with that number, and I'm probably going to finish with that number.
Nice. Well, it is kind of cool how you sort of made it your own, right?
Yep.
Well, and you're known as the Rhino, or Jerry says the Rhinoceros, or however he says that. Now, where did that nickname? Is that something from football, or just kind of what people called you through school?
Well, my mom always grew up calling me Rhino, but before I got through high school, I wrestled my whole life, so everybody always called me Rhino in wrestling. And then we got after college football, I did the whole MMA stuff there for a while, and they called me the Raging Rhino then. And it's just always stuck with me, so everybody just knows me as Rhino.
I didn't know you were an MMA fighter. Wow.
Yeah.
You and Chris Tucksher were, a couple of MMA guys.
Yeah, Chris and I, we've talked a few times. He's a good guy.
Nice. Well, did you wrestle heavyweight in high? I assume you just wrestled in high school, didn't do it in college?
Yeah, I wrestled all the way through high school. Got the opportunity to do a lot of freestyle and Greco-Roman. I traveled with All-State Arizona, so we got to do a little bit of traveling. I got to go to Reno, Fargo, North Dakota. I took fifth in the Nationals up there at Fargo in Greco-Roman, but never did do it in college. I got to play 3 years of college football, so that was enough for that. And now I'm feeling it at the age of 45, man.
Yeah. Well, where'd you go to school at for university?
So I played 2 years of college football at Phoenix College, and then I traveled up, I went to UNLV.
Oh, okay.
But, yep. So that was my college history. Played some ball.
There you go. For folks that have never been to Peoria or to where you live now in Iowa, obviously you talked about the communities are great. If perhaps somebody gets stranded in a snowstorm in Iowa or they want to go snowbirding in Arizona, what are some cool places, things to do in some of those communities that you've spent some time at?
Well, I mean, Arizona, everybody goes to Arizona to visit Scottsdale or Sedona. I mean, if you go to Arizona, you definitely got to check out Sedona. It's the Red Rocks. I mean, it's breathtaking. I think you've been there, Ben. So, I mean, you can definitely hear me out on that. But for the Grand Canyon, you take a trip up to the Grand Canyon in Arizona. It's one of the wonders of the world. So, I mean, that's always on people's bucket list. As far as here in Iowa, don't come in January like I did. I'll tell you that. But there's a lot of cool things. So, for example, we took off last weekend. I'm only 180 miles from Mall of America, so we took the kid up to Mall of America. We spent the night up there and had a good time in the mall. If you guys don't know, but Mall of America is the biggest mall in the United States. It's in Minneapolis, Minnesota. So that's literally less than 200 miles from Des Moines. So our other thing that we're going to do this summer is kind of venture over towards the Mississippi River. There's a lot of cool towns along the Mississippi River. But yeah, that's some of the highlights that I can tell you, a little bit about Iowa that is nice is it's very, where we're at here, we're pretty centrally located. So within a couple hours, we can go a lot of different places here.
So you're saying there might be a chance of the Dakota Mod Tour with the stock car?
I got a few things on my bucket list this year. I don't know if the Dakota Tour is on my bucket list. I was selected to be one of the drivers this year for the Salute to Veterans, the Hunting with Heroes with Jason Becker, man, and it's a huge honor to do that deal with that group. That's in the late part of July. I'm not counting out the Dakota Tour.
Sure.
But I do have a 8 to 5 job that I have to work during the day, so I don't get to just take off and go racing when I want to. I do got a very lenient boss, I should say. So if I need to take a day off here or there, she's really cool about that. But we'll just have to see. I'm kind of just got my keeping my deck of cards open this year. I'm not racing for points anywhere. I got Clay County Fair. They got a couple of big stock car races later in the year. I want to hit those. We're going to do the Salute to Veterans this year for sure. I was thinking about maybe trying to hit up the Midwest Madness Tour. My wife and I, we kind of sponsor that event, so that would be kind of a cool deal to hit and make some of those races. But I'm not counting out the Dakota Tour.
Well, that's super cool that you got selected for the Salute to Vets deal. That's a big deal, and that thing just keeps getting bigger and bigger each year. It's full of prestige and pageantry, and sure, it may not be the biggest paying shows, but I think for sentimental value, it's one of the greatest groups that puts together a series of races. And that's no disrespect to anybody else that tries to do it. It's just so special with what they do with the veterans to get the veterans involved. And they have all the drawings to get the honorary pit crew members, the special wraps that have a dedicated theme to a certain branch or maybe a certain family that was in the military. It's just, I can't wait to see how more and more it's going to expand, because it's big right now.
Yeah, and it when I got the phone call from Jason Becker, and he was like, man, I had so many people reach out that brought your name to the table. And I was like, really? And he goes, yeah, you even had competitors contact us. And, to make a long story short, but I lost my mom about 6 years ago to a horrific accident out at sea. And the U.S. Coast Guard was able to find and locate my mom. So, it's a huge honor to me. I'm going to be the first car to ever represent the U.S. Coast Guard for the Hunting with Heroes. They've never had a U.S. Coast Guard themed car, so it's a huge honor, Ben. And I I got kind of emotional with Jason Becker on the phone, and it was when my name was brought. That's like you kind of said. It's a pristine group of guys, and to put my name up with that class, I'm very honored, for one, but it was, to be the people's choice it makes it even more special.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And somebody that you mentioned, your wife, Heather, an extraordinary person who's such a wonderful person in the pits, as well as whether she's helping in any sort of capacity at racetracks as well. Winter Nationals, IMCA TV Winter Nationals, notably, that's when I met you guys back in 2021. And it's great that she has that same burning desire and passion for racing as you do, where sometimes, it's just the way it goes, right? It's not always like that with families, but not just you and your wife, but also your guys' daughter, and as well as your son that's now getting into the Mach 1 IMC Sport Compacts. You guys are a racing family, and that's so cool to see. And that's pretty much what I was making out of that comment. Is it's unique and it's really cool.
Yeah, and it bums me out because my son really hasn't had an itch to go racing. And then, I'm moving to Iowa this year, and I had a friend, Rex Racing. They gave Chase a car to run last year, and his first race out, he won his heat race and ended up second in the main. And now he's got the itch, and so, I helped him get a car, and he's doing fantastic, man. He's leading the IMCA Sport Compact rookie points right now. I don't know if he'll have enough races out in Arizona to be able to accomplish that, but we're in the process of getting him a little bit better car, a little bit more competitive car, and I think he's going to win a few this year, Ben.
Well, definitely. He's been looking good for the season. It's always a pleasure to talk to you, Ryan, talking about racing and what's been happening in your life and everything. I know that there's some important people that have made sure that you can continue to race. Obviously, your family's one of them, and feel free to mention and thank them again. But I know that you've got some great sponsors and marketing partners that make the 45 car keep turning left and going in circles.
Yeah, first and foremost, my wife, you got to have the support. You hit that on the nail. You got to have the support between your work life and your home life. My family supports me 100%, and I couldn't do it without them. My dad, he was always there with me, my son, my daughter, my wife. So I can't do it without the family support. That's huge. A couple of big sponsors that have really helped me out over the years, Distinctive Custom Cabinetry, Mike Cook. They started with me back many, many years ago. I can't thank them enough. Thomas Welding Services, they're out of Hobbs, New Mexico. Justin Thomas, I actually got my stock car from Justin. We became good friends, and now we're like family. And I can't thank Justin enough for what he's done for me and my racing program and my family. He's been a huge help, huge supporter. Also, when I got into the stock car, Colin Hibben with Awesome Shock Service, he has really helped me out with my shocks. I can't thank Colin and his dad enough for what they do and help me out, get me going in the right direction. Arizona Differential, Nate Warren, Jen Warren, they've helped me out. Also Carts for Kids. You mentioned my daughter races, also, but Donald Curtis down in Arizona has helped me out quite a bit. Unique Hypnotherapy, Alvera, she's like a mother to me, man. She's helped me out a bunch. Wild Wolf Kettle Corn, John and Megan, you know them. You've had their kettle corn. Great people, great supporters of racing. Coyote Cargo, Chris Rasta, he's a big help. Old Man Rivers Moonshine, my dad, Don Hagen and Sons Trucking, DRD Graphics, Colin Bender. He does a great job keeping my car looking good. Back here in Iowa, I've got Cope Family Farms. My shop isn't built yet, so my neighbors, the Cope family, they kind of took me in under their wing, gave me a place to work on my car, and they're also helping me out with a little bit of maintenance and stuff. So I can't thank John and his family and Cope Egg Solutions. And then also back here in Iowa too, Bobby Harris and all them over at BHE, the great people. They helped me out a ton with the modified. They helped me out with the stock car as well. Also Rex Racing, they're helping both my kid and myself out. Gill Racing, David and Kenny, Team Rowdy, IMCA Winter Nationals. Just so many people go into our racing program and help us get up and down the road and make it possible, man.
For folks that are wanting to keep track of your upcoming race schedule or perhaps see how you've been doing, is there a good social media page that folks can check out?
Yeah, we have our Roath Motorsports page. And then you can look me up too, Ryan Roth. But we're going to try to do a better job on social media. I'm not a big social media person, but I got an 8-year-old that loves TikTok. So we might be doing some TikToks this year.
There you go. And maybe there's some folks that want to support you financially through some apparel sales. Do you guys do that through the Facebook page? I'm pretty sure you have T-shirts and hoodies, right?
Yeah, we do. We have T-shirts, hoodies. I'm actually one of the first ones also to have the Monte Carlo pullback cars for the kids. We have hats, beanies, etc. You can always reach out to me too on social media, Ryan Roth or Roth Motorsports. Or even my wife, Heather Roth, or we own 3 Wide Designs of Arizona. So if you do need any apparel or any merchandise for this race season, reach out to us here at 3 Wide Designs of Arizona.
Well, I'm really excited to see how your foray in the Midwest full-time is going to go, my friend, and hopefully we bump into each other a couple times this year.
Yeah, usually when I'm talking to you, it's in Victory Lane, so that's a good thing. So I do hope to bump into you a few times this year, and hopefully you get an opportunity to make it out here this year, Ben, and you always got a place to stay out here.
Well, race fans, that does it for this interview. We hope you enjoyed it, and we hope that you continue to enjoy these upcoming interviews. We appreciate it if you would like and subscribe wherever you're listening, whether it's on Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, wherever it's at. Give us a like and give us a subscription so that we can deliver more of these great interviews to you for your listening pleasure. In the meantime, wherever we're at, wherever you're listening, we hope you have a great rest of your day and a pleasant evening, and we will see you soon here at Highside Racing Promotions.